Chapter 9: Devising Mainstream Educators for Inclusive Classrooms. Introduction. The successful implementation of inclusive education mainly depends on the knowledge, skills, and competencies of mainstream teachers. Teachers play a crucial role in ensuring that students with different abilities learn together in the same classroom. In modern education systems, more children with special needs are being enrolled in regular schools. Because of this change, general education teachers must now teach both typical learners and students with special educational needs. However, many teachers may feel unprepared or less confident in handling these responsibilities. Therefore, teachers must develop inclusive teaching competencies, such as understanding diversity, adapting teaching methods, modifying curriculum, and managing classroom behavior effectively. Importance of mainstream teachers in inclusive education. Mainstream teachers are essential for the success of inclusive education because they translate educational policies and theories into classroom practice, understand students' learning needs and sociocultural backgrounds, create a supportive learning environment for all learners, work collaboratively with special educators and other professionals. Teachers who possess these competencies are more likely to accept inclusion positively and support the learning of all students. Inclusive teaching practices. Inclusive teaching practices include all the activities and actions that teachers perform in the classroom to support learning for every student. These practices require knowledge and skills in several areas. 1. Understanding diversity and special educational needs. Diversity is an important characteristic of inclusive classrooms. Students differ in terms of abilities, disabilities, learning styles, cultural background, interests, and needs. Teachers must develop a deep understanding of each student. This includes knowing their personal background, learning preferences, strengths and weaknesses, individual learning needs. When teachers show genuine interest and care for students, it helps build trust and strong teacher-student relationships. This creates a positive learning environment and allows teachers to work more effectively in diverse classrooms. Number 2, identifying and assessing learning difficulties. Students with disabilities may face difficulties in classrooms. However, these challenges often arise not because of the disability itself, but because the learning environment does not support their participation. Some reasons for these difficulties include lack of proper educational infrastructure, absence of trained teaching staff, negative attitudes toward disability, social barriers from family or community. Among these, attitudinal barriers are the most difficult to overcome. Teachers must handle these situations with sensitivity, awareness, and supportive strategies. Number 3, classroom design and management. The design and organization of the classroom play an important role in inclusive learning. Teachers must arrange classrooms in ways that support different types of learners. Examples include auditory learners prefer quiet classrooms with organized space. Visually impaired learners feel comfortable in predictable and orderly environments. Autistic learners often prefer a fixed classroom layout. Right brain learners may prefer flexible and informal classroom settings. Similarly, some students prefer sitting near the teacher, others prefer sitting away from the front. Some classrooms work better with open-door environments, while others require quiet and enclosed spaces, especially for students with attention difficulties. Therefore, classroom design should be flexible and adaptable so that the needs of different learners can be accommodated. Classroom management challenges. Large classrooms can create management problems, especially when some students show challenging behaviors. Teachers can manage these challenges by seeking support from special educators, other teachers, support staff, teaching assistants. Collaboration helps teachers manage diverse classrooms more effectively. Number 4, learning styles. Inclusive education becomes effective when teachers consider the learning styles of all students. Teachers should avoid labeling students only by their disabilities, such as ADHD student, dyslexic student, autistic student. Instead, teachers should view the class as a group of unique individuals with different learning preferences. An inclusive classroom must therefore provide multiple learning approaches so that every student can learn according to their strengths. Number 5, pedagogical strategies. Modern inclusive education emphasizes common teaching approaches for all students rather than completely separate teaching methods for students with disabilities. However, teachers must still recognize that students learn differently. To ensure equal participation, teachers should use inclusive pedagogical strategies such as instructional strategies, multi-level instruction, differentiated instruction, activity-based learning, collaborative learning, co-teaching, modern teaching approaches, project-based learning, discovery learning, experiential learning, game-based learning, blended learning. These approaches help teachers meet the diverse learning needs of students. Additional support strategies. Teachers can also use several supportive techniques to improve inclusive learning. Consulting students about their preferred learning styles, instructional scaffolding, peer tutoring, support from learning assistants, use of educational technology. For example, autistic students may learn better through peer collaboration. Students with ADHD may stay more engaged when technology is used during learning tasks. Conclusion. Inclusive education requires teachers to develop special knowledge, skills, and attitudes to support diverse learners. Mainstream educators must understand student diversity, identify learning difficulties, design flexible classrooms, use inclusive teaching strategies, collaborate with other professionals. Have assistive technology competencies. Assistive technology plays an important role in supporting the learning and assessment of students, especially those with special educational needs. It helps teachers make teaching more accessible and effective for all learners in an inclusive classroom. Assistive technology supports students with diverse learning needs in several ways. It helps teachers deliver instruction in ways that match students' learning needs. It allows students to interact with the curriculum and learning environment in different ways. It provides accessible methods for students to demonstrate their knowledge and understanding. There are many types of assistive devices and technologies available that teachers should know how to use effectively. These include information and communication technology, ICT tools, communication aids, mobility aids, learning aids such as Braille, Abacus, and other supportive devices. When teachers are skilled in using assistive technology, it helps students participate more actively in both educational and social environments. Teacher as a facilitator. In modern education, the role of the teacher is changing. Teachers are no longer just providers of information, but also facilitators of learning. Traditional teaching mainly focuses on one-way communication, where the teacher delivers information and students listen. In contrast, facilitation encourages active participation and student-centered learning. A teacher acting as a facilitator supports students by clearly explaining learning objectives so students understand what they are expected to learn, helping students move from known concepts to unknown concepts using their previous knowledge and life experiences, encouraging active participation and collaboration among students, connecting classroom learning with real-life situations and the outside world, observing students' participation and learning responses carefully, providing feedback and guidance when students face difficulties. Through facilitation, teachers help students construct knowledge actively rather than simply receiving information. Legislative and policy context. Teachers play a crucial role in implementing educational policies and laws related to inclusive education. They act as the link between government policies and classroom practices. Inclusive education in any country is supported by government policies, educational programs, legal frameworks, institutional procedures. Teachers are responsible for transforming these written policies into practical classroom activities. Therefore, teachers must have clear knowledge of educational laws, policies, and their implementation procedures. This knowledge helps them implement inclusive education effectively and without difficulties. Furthermore, teachers' experiences and feedback often contribute to future educational reforms and the development of improved policies. Positive attitude toward inclusion. One of the biggest challenges in implementing inclusive education is the attitude of teachers towards students with special needs. Research shows that many teachers have neutral or sometimes negative attitudes toward including students with disabilities in regular classrooms. If mainstream teachers believe that teaching students with special needs is the responsibility of special educators only, then segregation in schools will continue. Therefore, for inclusive education to succeed, teachers must develop a positive attitude toward inclusion. Positive attitudes can be developed through proper training in special education, adequate teaching and learning support, availability of educational resources, practical experience in inclusive classrooms. When teachers receive training and institutional support, their confidence and acceptance of inclusive education increase. Conclusion. Effective inclusion requires understanding and addressing the diverse needs and differences of all students. Although implementing inclusive education policies can be challenging, teachers can make inclusion successful by adopting appropriate classroom practices. By developing competencies in assistive technology, facilitation, policy understanding, and positive attitudes, teachers can create inclusive classrooms where every student has equal opportunities